branding is something that has been around for, hundreds of years. But today we are seeing it changing ever so fast. It's becoming more technologically advanced, it's becoming more human-centered, and then there's calls for authenticity, you name it. From where you stand, what does it really mean for a brand to be super outstanding?
If you look at the whole branding evolution, basically, if you look at brands exist in the minds of the consumer. So which means the society, culture, consumer, people are integral part in terms of how brands evolve. We find an answer to the question that you asked, that those who are doing these two things right are the ones who are creating really super brands. Why that problem is existing, what is their life, and from there, how my product and service actually can solve that problem better than anyone else. So that shift is forcing brands to, how do I stay relevant? Because brands are not just about giving a good quality product, that's the beginning. But it's also creating certain association, creating an emotional tie, so that it means something, there's a meaning, and there are values through which a consumer can connect with the brand. I think so having that holistic understanding and creating a strategy so that you can solve this problem, you can deliver your promise, not just one day, day after day, year after year. I think that's the crux of the whole thing. I think that gap is creating a lot of a communication problem. How do I communicate? How do I make myself relevant? How do I solve a problem? And that's why we see globally distrust and actually falling of trust for brands and institutions by this generation. So Superbrand is someone who understands all of this. They understand the relevance, they understand technology, they understand the business dynamics, they understand consumers' lives, and creates the solutions and makes a promise which is relevant, solve this problem better than the competitor, offers a price point which is also better, and combine all of these creates a mental association which connects with the consumer. And they have to do all of this, not one day, not 1 year, year after year. Only then you become a super.
Superbrands is in Sri Lanka, or should I say back in Sri Lanka. We spoke about all of this and more with Shariful. Stay tuned.
When you have an ambition, trust your instincts, move forward. This is your moment to shape your future, to be independent, to strengthen yourself. Your time is now. Accelerate your progress, empowering your progress for a fulfilled life. Union Assurance.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is Superbrands, and I'm here with the chairman of Superbrands Sri Lanka, Shariful. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much.
Very honored to have you here, and I have a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
Starting off, branding is something that has been around for, hundreds of years. But today we are seeing it changing ever so fast. It's becoming more technologically advanced, it's becoming more human-centered, and then there's calls for authenticity, you name it. From where you stand, what does it really mean for a brand to be super outstanding?
Oh, very, I think, a deep question and makes so much sense. If you look at the whole branding evolution, basically, if you look at brands exist in the minds of the consumer. So which means the society, culture, consumer, people are integral part in terms of how brands evolve. So if you divide it into two parts, there is one part which is, let's say, you can call it in terms of strategy, consumer, that component, and the other side which is becoming very, very relevant is the whole tech, basically, that is disrupting everything. Now, if we look into these two contexts, actually, we find an answer to the question that you asked, that those who are doing these two things right are the ones who are creating really super brands. So if you look at the left-hand context, there are some part which are, how do I put it, 100 years old. So these are poor fundamentals. And fundamentals never shift. What fundamentals? Fundamentals are, we talk about that at the core of the branding is, I have to know and understand our consumer context to which they operate their life, and brands must solve a problem. The problem that basically through our product or services, we are trying to solve for our consumer. So I need to understand every context of my consumer, how they operate, what they do, why that problem is existing, what is their life, and from there, how my product or service actually can solve that problem better than anyone else. That's the core of the brand. If you look at a little broader in this sum, then comes the whole society context, culture context within which people live, because brands are all about people and culture. And there, I think we are seeing a lot of shifts, because as people keep on evolving, we are not same as, let's say, 50 years back or even 12, 20 years back. So that shift is forcing brands to, how do I stay relevant? Because brands are not just about giving a good quality product. That's the beginning. But it's also creating certain association, creating an emotional connect, so that it means something, there's a meaning, and that there are values through which a consumer can connect with the brand. Their value, both values has to be attached. Now, this is where I feel that there are the shifts that are happening. So the consumers changing dynamics, whether brands are actually understanding. And I think there are many brands are actually stuck in the old stage, because now consumers, as you said, looks for authenticity. They look for brands to be responsible. They have to be socially responsible. Of course, they have to be transparent. They have to deliver whatever they promise. And within that context, I think many brands look at it from whatever they think of it from the bottom. I think so. So having that holistic understanding and creating a strategy so that you can solve this problem, you can deliver your promise, not just one day, day after day, year after year. I think that's the crux of the whole thing. And when you talk about this, automatically comes in the tech, because tech is now disrupting everything. And then the biggest thing which whenever I discuss with the brand owners or the brand managers, what I ask is, because most of us or the brand managers are not, mostly the brand managers are millennial or basically little from the Gen X, our year group. They are not from Gen Z and Gen Alpha, most of that. So which means it is fundamentally so different to basically understand the context of this generation. So for those brand owners whose more target group are Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I think most of are actually missing a trick here, because we call it digital native, for someone who is born with digital ecosystem from the very early childhood and when they're kid. Their way of looking into the world, how they look at relationship, how they look at friendship, how they look at the world is fundamentally different from us who are digital immigrant. We embrace digital later. I think that gap is creating a lot of communication problem. How do I communicate? How do I make myself relevant? How do I solve a problem? And that's why we see globally distrust and actually falling of trust for brands and institutions by this generation. So I think if you want to look at Superbrand, so it's Superbrand is someone who understands all of this. They understand the relevance. They understand technology. They understand the business dynamics. They understand consumers' lives and creates the solutions and makes a promise which is relevant. Solve this problem better than the competitor. Offers a price point which is also better, and combine all of these creates a mental association which connects with the consumer, and they have to do all of this not one day, not 1 year, year after year. Only then you become a partner.
And it is clear me to ask is this, like you said, Gen Z and Gen Alpha soon the like, and are they a difficult or complex segment of customer than the millennials and the Gen Xers? Because there's a lot of power of fear and recommendations and things like that. So is it happening?
I have to say in a two way. First of all, of course, difficult if you don't understand. So I think difficulty lies when I'm unable to understand you, and I'm actually communicating with with a lens which is very different from your lens. And the problem is because we come with a lot of judgment. We come with the judgment, oh, these are people who are born with a mobile phone, they don't know human connect. All of these are true. They struggle that human area because of technology. There are challenges that they have. But I think they are much smarter generation. They know what they want. They have much better clarity, and the world's future relies on them. So it is for our sake, we bring in certain things on the table, just like any bro. So our job is how to we understand, how do we facilitate and try to sort of solve their problem, empower their voices. So if you look at the recent revolutions that are in South Asia taking place, just recently, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, it is what we thought impossible. Their voices actually rose and stood for society. So there are the if you look at Greta Thunberg, so one voice which became a voice for climate fight around the world stood before massive institutions, didn't bow down. These type of they have courage and clarity, which many of the older generation don't have. Now, you mentioned also something very right and powerful in terms of the recommendation and the shared voices. So they do not rely on traditional media. In fact, they do not at all look at it. So their reliance is on their groups, the communities that they belong to, and they trust the influencers. So if you look at the global brands like Unilever, P&G, globally they are shifting completely to social fast. So their media strategy is purely how do I build my whatever message and engagement or communication or brand message I want to build, it has to build from social. So they have even break down the influencer from mega influencer to big influencer to even every postcode in, let's say, UK has got an influencer. So they work to a postcode level and strategize their media plan. How do I pass on this message? Because they realize that it's all community led. So everyone is trying to build community, which is not easy, of course, so that I cannot just push myself into your recommendation set. I have to deliver on the things. I have to stand for good things. I have to be responsible, trustworthy. Only then I'll be in the recommendation set. So on the one hand, it is becoming difficult because earlier you can get away with a lot of things, but now you cannot. You will be tested, be tried, and you have to prove your merit every time. So yeah, it is.
One wrong move and you're
Yeah, you're able to, and that's ideally that's what brands are supposed to do in the first book. So I would say we went astray in a different direction. Now Gen Z are actually pulling us back in the right direction. So I see exciting.
It's time now to take a very short break, but we soon be back to talk more about Superbrands.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with the chairman of Superbrands Sri Lanka, Shariful. Couple of exciting things, of course. We announced this at LMD Awards, so very kind. The Sri Lanka Superbrands Council launched the program in the country. So what does this mean for Sri Lanka to have Superbrands back with us? And
I think first of all, there are different ways of looking at the recognition. I personally feel recognitions are very important for two things. If you look at in institutions, there are so many people who work behind the brand. A brand is not created by the CEO or CM. A big role in terms of creating the strategy and the direction. But end of the day, all those strategies are actually being executed by the people, maybe hundreds and depending on the companies, thousands of people who work together and basically create those brands. And when the right recognition comes, those recognition actually means these every individual's hard work are recognized, and companies should be celebrating with everyone. So I think recognitions from a global platform is a very powerful tool. Now Sri Lanka has got amazing brands, and in fact, 19 years back, the first super brands actually took place in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, it was not continued. But in my experience over the last couple of months, in fact, almost a year, my interaction tells me that the business have evolved a lot. And it is time when the Superbrands, I think it's the ideal time economy is growing again, economy is getting on track. There's a very big sort of the direction for growth is there ahead. At that point in time, I think starting Superbrands again cannot be more timely because on the one hand, globally, Superbrands operates in more than 90 countries. And in those 90 countries, wherever Superbrands operates, every important stakeholder, whether it's a consumer, investor, or media, the moment they see that you belong to Superbrands of a certain country, they know you belong to the best of the best, bro. So immediately they can connect, you are cut above. So as Sri Lanka grows and interacts more with the world, which is going to only keep on growing, I think Superbrands will give that leverage. Internally, I think it will tell the whole Sri Lankan consumers and other stakeholders that these brands belong to the best of the best. And our approach to Superbrands is not just merely recognize it, but making sure that the stories behind these brands come out, of why these brands stands out. The hard work, the strategy thinking of these individual comes out so that others can learn and get inspired from it. So we feel this can become a movement. That's the whole objective, so that it pushes the entire private sector, the newcomers, and the already existing players forward. Professionals to really aim high and work for a company, put their best so that they can also help one day create a Superman. So I think in both way, it cannot be better.
And it's massive. And talking of recognition, can you I know it's slightly technical though. Can you briefly take us through the shortlisting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so if you look at the way Superbrands judgment process actually takes place, we go through 4 layers of process through which actually we try to identify who qualifies to be Superbrands. The first one, LMDtv, our partner, basically does a lot of research. So they create a shortlist out of all the categories that basically we are taking into consideration. So that shortlist is based on LMDtv's existing research. They do a lot of awards, a lot of works that goes on, so that comes in. And then these are put behind a very selective group of very highly knowledgeable jury, the council members. So this council member basically scores each of those brands under 5 parameters. Individually. Each of them basically, and under each parameter, they score out of 20. So the parameters are actually heritage, which talks about the legacy, the journey, long journey of the brand. It talks about relevance. So how this particular brand is relevant in the category and also in the consumer side. In effect, actually it talks about strategy. Third part is about perceived quality and also performance. These are 2 separate ones. So quality is, as we can say, is how do I feel the quality of the particular product services is there. And performance is what is the port delivery of it. So when it performs, if it's a product, am I satisfied with the product? So the core performance of the product or service. And the last one is top of mind awareness. So that it must do branding engagement well, so that it immediately comes into my mind. So based on these 5 parameters, they score each of the parameter on a scale of 20. And then all of these scores are only sort of collated. And then only brands that are above 12, they become the shortlist. Now, LFP then does a further sort of a shortlisting. So they see within they make it, even though it has cutoff, but they pick the top 3 brands from each of them. And then each of these basically lists are given to us. So we look after Superbrands in 9 markets in Asia. So we then basically do a secondary study to find out what's about whether anything negative comes out. We try to do a validation check. And then these are placed to the global team. So global team does a final check and then it gives a go ahead. After all this process, the ones that comes up, only the top ones actually are reached out. So LMD then reaches out to the top one and they are invited to become Superbrand for 1 year. So the way it works, we feel someone may ask the question, why 1 year? Why it has to happen every year? You can be a Superbrand forever. But in our own experience in different markets, we have found where we run Superbrands that there are many brands where we actually took out the Superbrands recognition for certain brands because of maybe they haven't done ethically right. Number 2,
And you have to be relevant. They're timely.
you are not actually doing right innovation, or you are losing relevance to the consumer. So every year, so it almost like it keeps the brands on toes, that unless you are relevant, you are doing things right, because things are moving so fast. And very fast, because of technology, things are shifting every couple of months. So you cannot just sit back and say that, oh, I'm a super brand. It doesn't work. So they are reviewed every year, which will go through this entire rigorous process. And once you score that, then you are invited. So it has to be, we say, it has to be invited to become part of a super brand.
Shariful, it's been such an interesting conversation, but unfortunately, we are coming towards the end. So, if I ask you my final question, LMD is proud to be partnering with Superbrands Sri Lanka. You said that ideally Superbrands Sri Lanka, this re-entry, should be the start from
Yep.
But how does the partnership with LMP add value to this move?
Oh, okay. I cannot actually sort of put more positive words. In fact, every person that we have spoken, so CEOs to business owners over the last couple of months after the partnership has been done, so they are saying that the one good thing you have done and the right thing that you have partnered with LMD. So LMD has such a repute and credibility and trust in the market. It's unbelievable. And we've been working on the last 4 or 5 months. And what we have seen, the professionalism, very, very important for us, ethical standard, that our partner has to be ethically very strong. Because wherever we go, we make sure, because that's the fundamental of building trust, not just within us, but within the market. And LAP is a gold standard in that. A very high level of commitment to performance. So all our engagement, actually, we learn from LMD every time. So LAP, cannot be a better partner. A very strong commitment to its journalism, to the country, to make the Sri Lankan private sector and economy better. So I think we will be able to leverage these partnerships tremendously in terms of the learning of Superbrands and how do we take it forward. So once again, it's an amazing partnership.
We've been in conversation with the chairman of Superbrands Sri Lanka, Shariful. Thank you very much for all your insights and a lovely conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.